Hello fellow kaiju fans and kaiju collectors, I'm back for my next review, and as promised in my Kong Skull Island review, today I will be doing the review for King Kong, the 76 remake on DVD. Now I wouldn't say that it's fair necessarily to call this a remake, necessarily because it follows the similar plot, but there's certain things about this movie that are nowhere near like the same as the original 1933 film. Now, personally, I know I'm probably going to get some hate from some people. This is my personal favorite version of Kong. For me, this was the one that I actually grew up watching quite a bit. It was always on AMC, and before I got in, well, I'd say probably right around the time I got into Godzilla, they were showing this movie a lot. So anytime it was on, me being a little kid, I was always watching it. But basically, the DVD of this, I don't really think it does the movie justice. There's a lot more that could have been done with this, and most of the cast is still alive, if not all of it. Rick Baker's still alive, so I'd love to see somebody tackle like a special edition Blu-ray of this film, even though like it doesn't really get the praise that the original does. I think it's still important, but I'll get onto that later on in the review. So basically, this DVD, I bought this right around the time Skull Island came out on in theaters. And it was mainly because I was looking for my original copy of this, which I have since found, the 99 original print of this. I couldn't find it. So I was looking for it, and I wound up buying this copy for like $6 or $7 used on eBay. Which was surprising because around that time everybody was grabbing up every copy of the freaking Kong movies. It was kind of similar to how when Sony and Kraken did their releases of the Godzilla movies prior to 2014. Like, they were pushing out media. And I believe this came out on, like, a reissue shortly after. But really, this DVD is nowhere, like, no improvement or anything over the 99 DVD. It's literally the same. So, I'll show you the disc art real quick. It's just a very bland disc art. It's got King Kong and him holding Jessica Lange. Picture the Rick Baker got a gorilla suit, but really it's not anything special. It's just a reprint of a DVD. So if you want to read the back here real quick, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. And that's just the extras. The only thing you really get of substantial extras is the theatrical trailer. And you just got the cast and crew down there, which John Barry, famous for his James Bond movie scores, scored this movie. And you can kind of hear the influence in it, but it's not as pronounced. It's not as big and bombastic as the James Bond movies are, because this is more of like a subdued soundtrack versus what he had done with the Bond films. You can still hear the influence, though, but it's not quite there. And it's probably better for that. Like, I couldn't imagine this movie with a huge, brassy orchestra all the time. Yeah, you've got your big and bombastic moments in the movie, but it's nothing like in your face all the time. So, yeah. It's rated PG, and it runs for 2 hours and 14 minutes. It's in color, and it was released in 1976. So, on to the movie. Basically, the plot of this movie is Charles Grodin plays Fred Wilson, an employee of Petrox Oil Company, which is a fictional oil company made up for the movie. And Petrox has discovered land cloaked by a mysterious fog bank that doesn't move at all in 30 years between one photograph that's taken and is shown during a briefing in a photo from 1943 versus a photo in 1976. That in 30 years this fog bank never changes and never moves. So basically they buy charts, and Jeff Bridges plays Jack Prescott. He is a paleontologist, and he's interested in it more so for the fact that there's probably life on that island. So once they set sail, Wilson and the rest of the crew find out about Prescott when he barges in on their briefing about this island. And shortly thereafter, after Prescott is apprehended, they find Jessica Lange, who plays Dwan, floating in a little raft after surviving a yacht explosion. So they're all teamed up now, and they're all still heading for Skull Island, where Bridges he swears that there is life on that island because of the fact that the high CO2 levels could account for animal breeding and could also account for atmospheric conditions. And so once they arrive on the island, they find this wall, very similar to how the one looked in the 1933 film, but very, like, you can tell it was definitely modernized a little bit. Not too much. It still looks like an ancient ruin, but you can tell that the miniature effects have improved over the years. So they find this tribe that are now infatuated with Dwan, and after Wilson refuses to give her up, they actually come and steal her in the middle of the night and offer her as a sacrifice to Kong. And Kong takes her, which means that everybody has to go after her then. And pretty much the rest of the movie for a while is just them fighting Kong and trying to lure him in when they find out that the oil that they supposedly found on Skull Island won't be ready for another 10,000 years. So Wilson decides to bring in Kong to use as a marketing campaign to combat Exxon and their tire promotion at the time. So the rest of the movie for a while is just them setting up a trap for Kong and luring Kong back. There's one point at the movie where he does the famous log tilting scene where he dumps all the guys off and then drops it in the ravine. And also, we don't really get any dinosaur fights this time. It's mainly just Kong and the one giant snake that he fights on the island, but that's it. There's nothing else. And then after that, they take him back to New York, put him on show as like a beginning of a tour, and from there, Kong basically flips shit because they're kind of taking Dwan away from him, and it almost gives him like flashbacks and enrages him. So he goes on a rampage, recaptures Dwan, and takes her to the Empire State Building. Not the Empire State, the World Trade Center, where he climbs to the top of the World Trade Center and basically, just like in the 33 film, he is shot to pieces and falls off the building. So, you can definitely tell that they kept the majority of the movie the same. The only changes are like minor. For instance, there's less dinosaurs in this movie. You don't get like the cool dinosaur fights. He still breaks the snake's jaw open, but he doesn't really do a whole lot like of battling other than that. And they have like a cool briefing that in the beginning, which was kind of replicated in Skull Island, which when I saw that in the theaters, I was actually kind of like, oh, that's a cool little Easter egg. Like, if you've seen the 76 film, you'll know exactly where the briefing came from. If you haven't, you figure, okay, they just probably threw that in to kind of advance the plot. The best thing I can really like praise with this movie is John Barry's score. It is phenomenal. Probably the best score of all of the Kong movies. I mean, when you look at the 33 film, you gotta look at the time. It's not necessarily like it is in the 70s, but they always found a way, like with each Kong, to make it relevant to its time period. With the exception of Peter Jackson's Kong, which was just a remake, an exact shot pretty much remake of the original 33 film, which pretty much just made it a period piece. But and then Skull Island, it kind of focuses on stuff relating to the MonsterVerse, but with this one, it kind of brought it into perspective with the oil crisis and like everybody's scrambling to find oil. And the 33 film was just, this kind of differs from Carl Wilson in the original film going to Skull Island to make a movie. This is more going there to find oil, or I'm sorry, Carl Denham in the original. And Fred Wilson this time is just going to look for oil, and they happen upon Dwan, who is a movie actress. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot I can really complain about with this movie. It's not a perfect movie by far. The animatronic the animatronic Kong model was, you can tell at times, it's very much like the Godzilla 84 animatronic suit. well, slightly worse actually, because it actually kind of looks like, just like, it looks like a stiff doll. But they still bring back some of the old effects from the 33 film, which were like the animatronic hands, the animatronic feet. There's little like hat tips to the 33 film. So yeah, there's not much else I can really say for this movie other than it's just a great movie and I highly recommend that you check it out. So hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys later. Bye.